Shepherd and the crew, covering all Elite Wrestling, bringing you the news. It's Sunday Night Raw, gonna rock your world. Tune into the podcast, let the chaos unfurl. The NFC's electric, the passion's on fire. Kicking out podcasts, taking higher and higher.
It is Sunday, March 3rd, 2024. It is AEW Revolution Day. We are pumped here at the Kicking Out podcast. I'm Tanner Lee, the KOP Predictions Champion, finally back after a little 2-week hiatus. Thanks to my great co-host, the wise man or unwise man, depending on how you look at it. Paul Zartman is joining me as he and Shep held down the fort. Afternoon, Paul, and thanks for holding down the fort, man.
And no problem. Somebody's got to do it when, the champ only shows up when he feels like it.
You still should acknowledge me.
Never. I'll do like The Rock did.
Hey, L for Lee, right?
Yeah, sure. That's what we'll go with. I'm not going to pull a Shep and get us the explicit rating a minute and a half in because, otherwise I'd give you some Steve signals.
Oh, he's been on one the last 2 weeks.
Whoo, man. Yeah, I can't keep up with flashing the explicit logo up there.
But he is not joining us. He is on a little nice vacation with his family. But no worries. He has sent me his predictions. So he'll be joining us in spirit, I guess. And hopefully next week we'll have the whole crew back next Sunday.
With a new champion.
Hopefully not.
Probably not me, but because, I took some pretty wild picks here.
I don't know, Paul. This is your pay-per-view. In the past, in the history of the Kicking Out podcast, this is where Paul usually has a perfect card, Revolution. So,
probably not this year.
Well, it's going to be interesting. I thought this was a pretty hard card to predict.
It was.
Some of them it was harder. It was hard as far as point values. Others it was like I could really see this going either way. So,
yeah, I will say. I battled a lot with almost all of my predictions. I could have gone either way on all but like 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And even if I lose tonight, I'm going to be happy with either outcome of all these matches.
Oh, this is, I always get excited for AEW's pay-per-views, especially when they used to only have 4 every year, but now we're up to, it looks like it's going to be 9, maybe 10 this year. So we're getting up their numbers, but they always deliver. And I'm real excited about this one. Before we get into our predictions, if you had to pick, I guess that probably, I'm guessing we're both most excited for Sting's last match. Yes, no.
Yes. That's, oh, I froze. There we go.
I think
yes, I am excited for Sting's last match.
Yeah, I think that's the one I'm most excited for too. But besides that, what match are you most looking forward
to? Honestly, probably the Ospreay Takeshita match.
Me too.
Or the triple threat match.
I think Ospreay and Takeshita, good chance that steals the show.
Oh, yeah.
But, there's a lot of good ones. I think one getting slept on is Kingston and Danielson.
It is. That's going to be a hard-hitting match that's going to deliver. Both of these guys can deliver some pretty meaty chops, and I've got a feeling there's going to be some stiff stuff thrown through tonight.
Do you think we see any surprises tonight? Any debuts, any returns, anything like that?
I've been kicking around this idea because it's teased that Mercedes Moné will debut at Big Business, but I wouldn't be
surprised. Big time last night.
Surprised if she showed up tonight. Yeah.
I would be surprised. I would be. I think it'll be March 13th. Part of me is like maybe I don't think Kenny's ready to come back. I was like, maybe MJF, but I don't think they'd do that yet. So I don't think we're going to get any returns or huge surprises. I think it's going to be mainly just good matches. that are on the card and then highlighted by Sting's last match.
Okay.
I think starting next
I
week, if we start the surprises with, I think Okada shows up in Atlanta Wednesday night
Mhm.
for Dynamite. That's kind of the rumor. So,
Yeah, and I do have one big surprise, but I'm not gonna talk about it until we get to that match.
okay. All right. I like that. Well, let's dive right in. We have 11 matches. So for everybody
Before
that's
we do
never,
that, I know Shep's not here to
oh
do,
yes, thank
what
you.
are we drinking tonight? So I figured, you know what? I'll do a little, in honor of Shep. I'll drink some NOS, and this way we can at least get that feel. So
What's your? I know you're a big energy drink guy. What's your go-to brand? Is it Nos? Is it Monster? Is it Red Bull?
Full Throttle was for the longest time. But when COVID hit, it got hard to find Full Throttle, and then it became NOS. So if you haven't had NOS, go grab a NOS if you're an energy drink person. It's really good. It's smooth and it goes down like butter.
What flavor is that?
Um, I don't know, the original.
Oh, I wasn't. I've had it, but I couldn't remember what it was. So
Yeah. It doesn't say on the can. So I guess just the original. I know they've got a couple different ones out there now,
mhm.
but that's the blue is the original.
Gotcha. Well, now we will dive. Now that that's done,
Yes.
we will dive into our predictions and how this works. If this is the first time you've tuned into one of our prediction podcasts, so we each you have a point value for every match, and you can only use the value one time. So the match we're most confident in will be our 11 point pick. Match we are least confident in will be our 1 point pick. So with that said, we have 11
Yeah,
matches,
that's how that works.
2 on the 0 hour, starting with women's tag match. Let's see if I can bring it up there. Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale versus TBS champion Julia Hart and Sky Blue.
Yeah. You want to go first, champ, or you want me to?
Sure, I'll throw my pick out there. This one, this is one of those ones I'm not really sure. I could see it going either way. It's kind of this whole rivalry just went back and forth. I'm glad this was added though, because I was like, okay, what are we doing with the TBS champ? Nothing. Like I feel like she should be on the card, so I'm glad this was added at the last moment. I'm going with Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale, but only for one confident point.
Ooh, okay. Um, I'm right there with you with Statlander and Nightingale, but I went 7. I originally, and I had 7 on this match to begin with. I kind of did this backwards and put my confidence points down before I actually picked my winners. I originally picked Heart and Blue on this, but last minute I went, nope, I'm going to go Statlander and Nightingale. I feel it sets up for them to say, hey, we beat you. Nightingale wants a shot at the TBS championship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm right there with you. I mean, see, we know Stokely will get involved somehow,
Yep.
or his presence will be felt. But yeah, I mean, I could see it going the other way. Maybe that's why I played it safe and put 1 point on it. So, but
Yeah. Yeah.
our co-host Austin Shepard differed from both of us. He's taking Sky Blue and Julia Hart for 6.
Okay. Now remember, our non-existent co-host for the week has had bad luck when it comes to women's matches. Almost every
Absolutely.
pay-per-view.
Yep.
So
Absolutely. Yes. That's something to keep an eye on tonight. So, the other 0 hour match, this was just added last few days. It's a 12-man tag match. We have the Bang Bang Scissor Gang against Satnam Singh, Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Private Party, and Willie Mack. I'll let you start this one off, Paul.
I'm very confident in this, and it shows. I went Bang Bang Scissor Gang for 8 points. I feel they're still trying to show that these guys are an extremely cohesive unit before everything falls apart. So I think they will get the victory tonight.
Does it rub you the wrong way that we've seen Jay White go from main event match at Full Gear to the 0 hour match and 2 pay-per-views later.
Kind of, but at the same time, I understand it.
Me too.
I think with ROH Trios champions, they're going to be on ROH a lot more. And originally, TK said no ROH stuff on AEW. So having them on there, being on the pre-show or 0 hour, I understand it, but still, it doesn't seem right.
Yeah, and have they been on ROH that much? I have not been a good ROH avid watcher week to week.
I don't know. I get notifications when the matches show up on YouTube, but that's about it.
I don't know how I feel about. I mean, I know the Bang Bang Scissor Game, they're fun and they sell a lot of merch, but like, I don't think it's hitting as Tony Khan and AEW hoped it would. I mean, we haven't seen the trios titles defended since All In. That's 6 months ago.
Yep.
That's
And that
kind of
was
ridiculous.
That was House of Black.
Yeah, that's kind of ridiculous. So, I don't know. I want to see a turn or a division, a split, and unify the title. Something to draw me back in. So.
And I think we'll see that at the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. But I went with the Bang Bang Scissor Game, but for 5.
Okay.
I think they'll win, but it is. I'm very confident they're going to win. It's just there's that many more matches. I'm even more confident on the card, or maybe I'm just taking a big shot here and there. So
okay.
But Shep was right there with you, but 1 point higher. He went Bang Bang Scissor Gang for 9.
Okay. All right.
So.
And with the Jay Lethal, Jeff Jarrett stuff that we've been seeing on Rampage here lately and a little bit on Collision, those two are going to argue, and that'll probably cost them the match.
Yep. I don't understand the Willie Mack involvement really in this.
I don't either.
But I was kind of surprised with Private Party because they've been more of a face duo, it seemed like lately, but I don't know.
Yeah, they go back and forth. I think they were going to turn them heel, and then they decided to try it maybe with the Hardys. So then they moved Private Party back to the face side, and they're this Sammy Guevara of tag team.
That's a good comparison. Or the Paul White if we really want to get into the weeds.
Yeah.
Next up, we have what was supposed to be Meat Madness that got changed into the Scramble match. We have Chris Jericho, Will Hobbs, Lance Archer, Wardlow, Dante Martin, Hook, Brian Cage, and Magnus. 8-man Scramble match. The winner of this gets a future title, AEW World Heavyweight title shot. I kind of like the pivot to this match, considering the fact that, Miro couldn't go, Keith Lee couldn't go, some of the other bigger guys that Tony wanted in for a Meat Madness match. So he puts this match together, and we still have some meaty guys, Wardlow, Hobbs, Brian Cage. But then you got Jericho, who's Lance Archer, another meaty guy. Then you got Jericho, who's a past champion in there, giving him something to do, I suppose. And then we got some high flyers like Magnus and Dante Martin. So, and then you got Hook right there. That's not a high flyer, but he's a ground and pound guy and an FTW champion, something for him to do as well. So I'm all right with this. I got no complaints with the Scramble match.
I don't have any complaints with the Scramble match. My problem is, like Keith Lee and Miro, they weren't originally advertised. When this came out as Meat Madness, we had Wardlow, Hobbs, Cage, and Archer. That was it. Those 4 guys going at it. And then I was like, okay, why? Because, Tony Khan broke it on X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, that due to health concerns, Meat Madness was being basically put on hold and something would take its place. And that was this, but I'm okay with it. I like these names. I worry for Dante because every time he's in something big like this with a bunch of other guys, he seems to get hurt.
Yeah, he does. Hopefully he can stay healthy because I'm looking forward to him, come away from this match like, my God, Dante Martin did this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And same thing with Magnus. So,
well, last time Dante was in a big match like this, he came away with, my God, Dante did that, but that was due to an injury.
And, I think going back to Tony pulling the Meat Madness match, I don't know what other big guys were in consideration, but I think you have to have the Butcher in the Meat Madness match.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And we've seen him here recently
yeah,
pop up to help break up fights.
yeah. That's about it. Get paid, uh,
Yep.
participate with some catering, and then break up fights. So,
Yep. Yep.
we will start with Shep's pick here. Shep took Wardlow for 7.
Oh, okay. Um, I'm there with Wardlow, but you know, TK has a tendency to flip the script on us a lot. So I only went with one confident point on this.
One. Well, you might be the smart one out of us 3 because there is, 8 guys in the match, so you probably shouldn't pick anybody for a high point value. But I was right there with Shep. I went Wardlow for 7 as well. I think just story wise, that makes the most sense. I mean, he's made it plain and clear he's coming for the world title, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean they could, flip it. I just some of these guys aren't in line for any sort of title shot.
No.
Others you can make the case for it, and Jericho's the lone past AEW World Champion in this match, the first ever AEW World
Yep.
Champion. But I just don't think it fits in line with a lot of the other guys in the match. That the Wardlow makes the most sense. So
Right. Because I mean, looking at this match, you can guarantee Archer won't get a shot. Dante won't, Magnus won't, Cage won't, and Hook won't. So that really leaves you Jericho, Wardlow, and Hobbs.
exactly, which are probably the 3. Hook's already had a chance, I guess, didn't he, against Mojo
Yeah.
earlier this year? But yeah, those 3 you mentioned, Jericho, Hobbs, and Wardlow, are probably the 3 that make the most sense. So,
Yeah, because every time Archer gets a push, he just vanishes from TV
Yep.
in the midst of the push. So
Yep. He showed up in Warrior Wrestling the other night as a
yeah,
surprise.
yeah,
So, but he was, I saw on social media, he was getting interviewed by somebody and they were talking about contract negotiations. He said he's still got a little time left on his deal with, injuries and such, but he said negotiations are going good. So maybe he's going to resign. I thought he might be one when his contract was up, he might go elsewhere.
we thought so the first time his contract was
That's
coming
true.
up, and then they re-signed him. Him and Cage both.
That's true. That's true. So up next, this should be a fun tag match against 2 teams who have been bitter rivals the last month or so. FTR and the Blackpool Combat Club's John Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard-hitting match.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. This is right up Shep's alley, and we'll start with Shep again. No surprise here. He took his boys FTR, but he only took him for 1 point.
Okay. I went opposite and went the BCC for 2 points. Nothing against FTR. There's just been a lot of push here lately for the BCC, and I think that push is going to continue. And I think we see that here tonight.
This is one I could see going either way. I had a tough
Yeah.
time picking it. That's why my points are pretty low. I went FTR for 3. And my main reason was at the end of the day, they're more of a tag team than Claudio and Moxley. Yes, Claudio and Moxley have tagged a lot, but they're still just part of their faction. And I think FTR is going to get right back in the mix for the tag team title hunt here soon. So that's why I'm going with FTR for 3. But should be a fun, hard-hitting match. I can see it going either way.
Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have the International Championship match. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong.
Yeah. This match has been building the whole time
For
the Undisputed
6 or 7
Kingdom's
weeks
been
now.
around. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'll hit this first and be the bad guy here. I went for 6 points. Roderick Strong. I think Orange's injuries are kind of showing again. I don't think he was ready to reclaim the title, but due to injuries, he was the best option for it. So he picked it up. And I think it's time that he just drops the title for a while at least. And Roddy would be a good guy to drop it to, even though I don't like him.
Yes, we never saw, Moxley get his run with the title because of injuries.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. I'm going Roderick Strong. I'm going Roderick Strong for 9.
Oh, okay.
Taking a big swing here. I just think the Kingdom has to come out of this pay-per-view with some momentum. That's why Warlord
Yes.
needs to win. That's why Roderick needs to win. If not, then what are we doing with the Kingdom?
Exactly.
Not much.
No.
So I went with Roddy for 9, and Shep also went Roderick Strong, but only for 2.
Okay.
Only
All
for 2.
right.
So he needs to be a big OC fan
Yes.
tonight. So,
Yes.
yep, I think it would do Roderick well. And Roderick's great in the ring, and he's not too bad on the mic. So
I could
I'd
care
be
less
fine with
for
some
him on the
new
mic.
blood, some new blood having this title. So
If he wins next Sunday when this pay-per-view starts, I'm just gonna be Roddy and just start yelling everybody's name when I want your attention.
all right, perfectly fine. Perfectly fine out of the wise man. Up next, a second time we've seen these guys face one-on-one. Eddie Kingston got the upper hand the first time. It's Eddie Kingston, the Continental Crown champion, versus Bryan Danielson. So the winner gets the Continental Crown, the New Japan title, and the ROH World title. I will start here for us this time. And also, Eddie said if he wins, Danielson's got to shake his hand, which is something that Bryan has refused to do to date. So I am going with Eddie Kingston for 6 confident points. I know that Bryan's having a great last run. I just don't, for whatever reason, I can't picture him holding all 3 of those titles. He's such a selfless guy. I don't think he would want to win the titles.
Okay. All right. I'll go next. I went with Bryan Danielson for 5. As we were making our 2024 predictions, I originally had Danielson holding that at the end of the year. And then I remembered he was talking about this being his last run, so I changed it last minute. But I'm going to go back to it and say he's going to at least hold it this year, even if it's just for a couple pay-per-views, and then he gives the rub to somebody else.
Well, this is going to be one of those interesting matches as far as our predictions goes. This could be a make or break match. Shep went with Eddie Kingston for 4 confident points.
Oh, yeah. He went with his buddy Eddie.
Oh, yeah. He's not
He's
going
a
against
huge
Dak or
Eddie
Eddie.
fan.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. So, yeah, that should be a good match, and one I think could potentially steal the show.
It's definitely going to be a good show.
But the one we both agreed on at the top of the podcast that we thought had the best chance to steal the show,
yes,
is 2 members of the Don Callis family going against each other. Will Ospreay making his full-time AEW debut versus Konosuke Takeshita, who is, along with Ospreay, the only guys who have pinfall victories on the AEW roster over Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho for singles competition.
Yes. 2 very talented individuals
Very talented
both
wrestlers.
spent time in New Japan. They know each other. I went Ospreay for 11.
I did too, my friend.
It's his debut. There's no way he's
he's
dropping this match.
I went for him with 11, and Shep went with him for 10. So we all have big points on the Billy Goat, Will Ospreay. I love Will Ospreay. I think he's awesome in the ring. I think he's the best in the world between the ropes. And his reaction showing up on Dynamite Wednesday night was awesome from the crowd. I think he's part of the future of AEW. Tony's got to push him to the moon. Yeah, he's not losing this. No. I think though we will see a split from him and the Callis family tonight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You have to, because he came off so much like a face in that promo Wednesday night.
Yes. And Ospreay can do both. He can be a babyface and a heel. He's really good in that sense. But I think you push him as a baby, and where I would like to see this go is have a big tag match between Callis family versus oh my gosh, what's his faction with Davis and Fletcher called? United Kingdom.
Aussie Open.
Aussie Open's the tag, but I think United.
It might be United Kingdom.
Yeah, but either way, have Mark Davis, Kyle Fletcher, and Ospreay take on Hobbs. To catch, you'd have to have Fletcher split from the Callis family too.
Yeah. Yeah.
He could with his buddy Osprey. So I think in long run, like down the road this year, I think Takeshita is going to be the only one remaining with Callis. I think we're going to see everybody
Oh, yeah.
start to spread, which
Yeah.
makes a lot of sense.
Oh, absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this match. That's going to be a fantastic one. Up next is another fun one. I haven't been able to share my thoughts the last 2 weeks on the podcast. One, I was kind of surprised to see come to fruition. I thought we'd see the final grudge match between Christian Cage and his buddy Adam Copeland, but instead we're getting Christian Cage defending the TNT Championship against Daniel Garcia, since Copeland sidelined after taking the
Concerto.
concerto. Words are hard on this Sunday.
Words are hard every day. Yeah,
That's
he took
true.
the concerto and got sidelined. Yeah.
Do you think he shows up tonight, though?
I do. I think he'll show up in Garcia's corner, because we already know Christian's bringing the entire patriarchy with him. So him showing up, even during the match, maybe not come out with Garcia, but just show up during the match and hang out at ringside or even on commentary.
Yep.
But
Yep.
I have a lot of confidence in my pick, so
Go for it. Pull trigger.
All right. For 9 points, I went with Christian Cage. I like Garcia. Don't get me wrong. I'm a huge fan. I love what he's doing. I love the dancing. I love how he has really turned everything around since the Continental Classic. But we're not going to see that belt change hands until we get that final grudge match between Christian and Copeland.
Shep's right there with you. He went Christian Cage for 8. I also went Christian Cage, but I only went for 2. Because I could see Copeland helping Daniel Garcia win the title, because they are pushing Daniel Garcia pretty heavily, especially after Continental Classic. But also part of me is like, I could see Copeland, maybe not tonight, but maybe planting some seeds to turn heel, because I do think by the end of this year he's going to turn heel, and that was one of my bold predictions. And my championship predictions was he and Christian would hold tag team gold by the end of the year. So, but I agree with you. Ultimately, I think we have to get that final match between those two guys, because he was screwed out of the TNT title at World's End.
Yeah.
So I am going Christian for 2, though. I'm a little nervous about that one.
And before we get to Shep's pick here, I do want to say, I think what we see happen between Copeland and Christian in their final grudge match is the other members of the patriarchy not back him up. And then Edge is like, see, I told you, or Copeland, excuse me.
Yeah.
I told you they would turn on you, and they did. So now you're left alone. So how about it? One more time, tag team champions.
Yeah, we've already seen the kill switch C's being planted for turn, but we haven't seen the Nick Wayne yet. So, yep, I like that. So we're all in agreement with Christian. You with 9, Shep with 8, myself with 2. So up next, the lone woman's match for the main card for the Women's AEW World Championship. Timeless Toni Storm defending against Deonna Purrazzo.
This is going to be a very, very interesting match. There's a lot of history between these two. We've seen it play out. We saw Toni plant the kiss this week. It's going to be a good match.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a very good match. I'll go first for this one. Part of me wanted to pull the trigger with Deonna, but I think with Mercedes Moné coming in here in the near future, I think she'll ultimately be the one to take the title off Toni Storm, even though I think Deonna puts up a great fight tonight. So with that said, I'm going Toni Storm for 8 confidence points.
Okay. You want to do Shep next?
Yeah, Shep is also going Toni Storm for 5 confidence points.
I cut out. I'm back. I think maybe.
All
Am
right.
I back
Yes,
now?
yes. Yes, you're back on my end.
Okay.
Yep.
I differ. I went Deanna Peraza for 4.
Ooh. Ooh, here's the big match of the pay-per-view for it.
Well, Shep has not picked the right women's winner yet, so if
I don't have
history
Jade to
repeats
rely on
itself,
anymore like I used to.
exactly. You actually have to
So
think now.
yeah, I do. I don't like thinking. But no, I couldn't be more pleased with the direction Tony's got the women's division heading in 2024 and add some more talent. I don't know if Mercedes is going to be the last one.
I
There
don't
might be
think
other
so.
ones. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And while we're talking about Mercedes and the other women's division, there has been talk, and it's rumored. Again, I don't follow the dirt sheets as closely as you guys do. So I never know if what I'm reading's true or reliable or,
You got
just
to weed
somebody.
out the unreliable sources. Yeah.
Yes. But I saw that there is a rumor that Mercedes is pushing for a all women's show with AEW. So whether that be a pay-per-view, whether that be a weekly show, I don't know. But with them filing for a new copyright for what was it, Dynasty?
Dynasty, which is supposedly going to be the April pay-per-view.
So maybe that's what we're setting up for. Maybe Mercedes comes in on the 13th and says, voila, and then there's a big announcement that in April we will see an all women's pay-per-view.
Yeah, I don't. It's really intriguing idea because WWE did it once, and a lot of people enjoyed it, but it was like their lowest viewed pay per view.
Yeah.
So they never did it again. But that gives AEW an opportunity to do something that WWE is not doing. So
Yep.
if you got the talent, the depth to do it, why not do
And
it?
TK does.
Yeah.
And it continues to grow.
So it's interesting, and we just gonna go down one little rabbit hole right now. And it's interesting when we're talking about the pay per view schedules. You know, we did not have pay per view in January or February
Right.
this year. Revolution is tonight in March, like it normally is. Rumor has it Dynasty is going to be in April, so that's 2. May we're going to have Double or Nothing. June we'll have Forbidden Door. Then August we're going to have All In. Then All Out's going to be in September. Wrestle Dream in October. World's End, or no, Full Gear in November. And then World's End in December. That's 9.
Yeah.
If he pulls the trigger on adding one in July, that's 10.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But he already runs, 3 ROH
3 ROH
pay-per-views?
ones. That's true. That's true.
So you're with 9, you're currently at 12. Do you really
True.
want to make it 13? Because that means 1 month your 2 brands are competing against each other.
That's a good point. Which is this month, actually, I believe. Or maybe it's probably next month. Because I think they're doing the ROH the Friday of Mania weekend. That's what they normally do.
Okay.
And then if they're adding Dynasty, if that is a pay-per-view,
Yeah.
then that'll be probably in April, though. You can have one at the start.
You would hope
yeah,
so.
Yeah. So
You
because
don't want to run
ROH
them on
is
the same weekend.
no, and ROH is through Honor Club. It's not even through Bleacher Report or anything. So
Right.
but it's gonna be very interesting. Very interesting how it all shakes out. And TV rights deal and the potential Max deal, that probably has a lot to do with it. So
Yeah.
all right. Next up on the card, we got 2 matches left, and we know what the main event's going to be. It's already been announced. So the World Heavyweight Championship is not the main event tonight, but still going to be a hell of a match. AEW World Champion Samoa Joe defending it against Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland.
These are 3 great individuals. You could pick any of them, and it would be a solid choice. This is one of those, you go in looking at a lot of these triple threats and you go, okay, yeah, there's 3 guys, but there's a better chance of this or these 2 guys winning than any of the 3. But this is one of them. You look at it and go, any one of these 3 could win. And honestly, I'd be okay with any of these 3 winning. But with that being said, based off of talk with the Undisputed Kingdom and Cole's promo, I think Samoa Joe retains for 3 points.
Our buddy Shep is right there with you with Samoa Joe for 3. So, and I'm with you with Samoa Joe with both of you. I'm going Samoa Joe for 10.
Ooh.
I am very confident. I don't think it's the right, even though Swerve's hot right now, and Tony does like to go, you know, um, he likes to sometimes go with the hot hand and somebody who's on fire, strike the iron while it's hot. That's what I was trying to think of. um, but I
Sometimes.
don't think it's the right time. I think you give Joe a few more months of a title reign, and I really think it's going to come down to. I think Hangman ends up taking the pin. I think Hangman's so obsessed with not letting Swerve win that title that he'll be fine
Yep.
with taking the pin if that means Swerve can't become champion. I think that's what it ultimately comes down
Absolutely.
to.
Absolutely.
So,
And I think the way you set this up is you have Joe pin Hangman.
yes,
So
absolutely.
then Strickland can come back and say, look, Joe, you didn't beat me. You
Yep.
beat Hangman.
Yep.
I want one-on-one with you.
Yep. And it doesn't make Swerve look weak. Not saying he'd
No.
look weak anyways.
No.
And then say we do have Dynasty next month. That's the final feud match between Swerve and Hangman. I don't know what kind of stipulation to do, but you put something on there, it's done. Swerve goes over, and then maybe Swerve challenges Joe at Double or Nothing.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah.
Let this right out till Double or Nothing. Yeah.
And then maybe, I know we all three predicted Ospreay to be the world champion of the year. Maybe then Ospreay's in the mix at All In at Wembley.
Yeah.
Gives him enough time to get his feet wet and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. Give me the pencil, Tony. Give me the pencil.
Well, Tony does listen. I mean, he's doing a lot of what we've told him to do. So
You never know. You never know. And lastly, the main event tonight, the end to a long historic career of Sting. AEW World Tag Team Championships on the line tornado tag match. Sting and Darby Allin versus the AEW EVPs Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. And before we get to our picks and confident points, let's just talk about Sting a little bit.
oh man.
Sting debuted at Winter is Coming 2020 for AEW. It was 1 month before the Kicking Out podcast was born, January of 2021. But I remember vividly being on the couch at my house that night watching, and we hear the music, and all of a sudden Sting comes up on the not Titantron, just Jumbotron on the screen. I'm not gonna call it Titantron. And I remember texting you, "Holy shit!" with about 1,000,000 exclamation points because I was blown away because it didn't get leaked to the dirt sheets. It was kept quiet. The only possible hint, and nobody really read into it, was a few weeks prior, WWE pulled some Sting merchandise off their website because his Legends contract had expired. Well, that happens a lot. Usually they re-up to their Legends contract. Boom, it's right back on the site. That was the only hint out there, and nobody really picked up on it. Sting makes his debut, and I thought, okay, cool. Sting was going to be around once in a while. Maybe we get a match or two. Never in a million years would I have ever guessed we were going to get the 3-year run that we have out of Sting.
No.
Yes, it's all been tag matches, but they have done his farewell send-off absolutely beautifully and perfectly. Couldn't have been done better up until this date. Even giving the guy gold, which he didn't want, is a nice send-off in his last match. And man, it's been fun. And we've seen him jump off tons of things. The dude can still go in his mid-60s. Yeah. And I still think he has some left in the tank, but he wants to retire. Now is the time.
Yes. And I think, we found out, what was it, last week, that his dad had passed away the previous week. I think his dad was sick for a while, and that may have, because he even mentioned in there, that made me question my own mortality. So I wonder if that had something to do with it. He wants to spend time with the boys and the grandkids, if there are any.
Sure.
I don't know.
And he's got a daughter too, as well.
And still be able to be involved in their lives without being in a wheelchair or on the road or, oh, yeah, I'd love to come to your party, but I've got this thing I got to do first. So I may or may not make it.
And it's funny when we talk about wrestling retirements because everybody's like, are they really going to retire? Because we've seen so many times guys retire and come back. Ric Flair, notably, twice. Shawn Michaels,
Undertaker.
that one. Undertaker. Shawn Michaels, that one killed me because he came back for one match and it was not a good match and it was a big
No,
payday. And like, Shawn, what are we doing here? But I really think this is it for Sting. I do not think we'll see him wrestle another match after tonight.
The Rock.
He's never retired. He just leaves for 11 years at a time.
You know.
But I really think Sting will be done. I'm not saying we'll never see him in AEW again because he's even made. Maybe we'll see him. It'll be fun to see him with a headset on, doing some commentary sometime, or maybe he shows up in Darby's corner if Darby's in a huge title match down the road. But as far as in-ring competition, I think this is it for Sting. I truly think it is.
And we talk about or you mentioned the fact that it's all been tag team matches.
Yes.
And Rampage, when they did all the Countdown to Revolution stuff, I forget who it was, but they said, he's given Darby that rub. This is the perfect way to do it because now you get these two to build up together and he's giving him the rub every match. Darby's normally the one picking up the victory. Sting, will pick up a handful of them from time to time, but Darby's really gotten that rub from Sting, and this works without having to put them one-on-one against each other every single time.
Right. And it's safer working environment for him to work a tag match. He won't get blown up that way, even though the guy's in phenomenal shape to be in his 60s, for being in his 60s.
He looks a lot better than he did in WWE.
And I mean, he was younger in WCW, but he's got better tan now than he did in '97. Starcade. Just ask Eric Bischoff, which is Eric Bischoff's a loser anymore when it comes to talking AEW. But this is just such a perfect night tonight in the Greensboro Coliseum, which is kind of where Sting made name for himself against Flair, Clash of Champions, 1988. Same building. It's sold out tonight, 16,000 plus. And they've done such a good job building to this. They announced it months ago, even before the location was announced.
Yeah.
And man, it's couldn't write a better ending. Depending, I mean, either way the match goes, and I could see the match going either way. I really can.
I can too.
And Sting is the only guy I can think of in professional wrestling that nobody has a bad thing to say about.
Right.
Nobody.
Right. No. Nobody has ever said a bad thing. There's been at least 2 documentaries that I can think of regarding Sting.
Yep.
And nobody had anything bad to say about it.
I'm just so glad he's getting to end his career this way. When after the spinal stenosis thing, the diagnosis after the Seth Rollins Night of Champions match 2015, I never thought we'd see him in the match again.
No.
So we've seen 20 some matches now and other countless segments, great promos, vignettes. It's been a lot of fun. It's been a hell of a ride. One of his better runs of his career, I would say.
Yeah.
With that, I pose a question to you. Which version of Sting was your favorite?
All right. Well,
you got Surfer, Crow, TNA, Joker, WWE, and now this version.
And you forgot Wolfpack.
Oh, yeah. Which is funny because when I was a kid, I had a Wolfpack action figure. I had a t-shirt of the Wolfpack that he was on. But it was so, looking back now that I'm older and can look back on it, such a weird fit. Yes. Why he was in the Wolfpack, I'll never understand. And it was only for a couple months. It was very weird.
Yeah. But as somebody who watched all that stuff, it seems like Wolfpack Sting was a lot longer than a couple months.
I know.
It always feels like it was like a couple years because everybody, when they talk about Sting for the longest time, it was the red and black.
Oh, sure.
But I'm a Punk kid.
He's got that cult following of the Sting Wolfpack version. It's got that cult following, and the Wolfpack does itself. I love them. I think the Wolfpack's awesome. I mean, I appreciate what the Black and White did. Trust me, without the Outsiders, Hogan, Nash, Hall, the wrestling industry is not the same today. But the Wolfpack were cooler. They were the cooler version of the NWO. Sure.
Yeah. The Black and White became the Bischoff Boys, and then the Wolfpack was
Nash's Boys, really.
Yeah, and it was kind of WCW's answer to DX.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah.
But as a punk emo kid who always loved the movie, I'm going Crow Sting, hands down.
I think everybody's probably does. I mean, some other variation. Joker's Sting was a lot of fun. In
Oh,
TNA.
that was a lot
TNA
of fun.
Sting was
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
I mean, TNA Sting, his time in TNA, I remember that more than any other time because I was still so young towards the end of WCW. But the black and white Crow Sting, non-wrestling fans know who Sting is.
Mm-hmm. Because of it.
Another question I wanted to pose to you, and I should ask Shep because I wanted to get his opinion. Because I liked how you did the question to Shep 2 weeks ago, even though the guys was like, "Oh God, I got to pick one of these, Ryback or a Goldberg," which
And
it
that
got a
came
lot of
out of
views.
nowhere.
It's got
Don't
a
ask
lot
me
of
where
views
that
for us
came
on
from.
YouTube, so thank you. So I'm posing a question to you, and I don't think you can go wrong with either guy, Sting or the Undertaker.
Ooh.
The match we never got that we all wanted.
Yeah. I seriously still think that should have been his match in WWE.
It should
It
have.
shouldn't.
It
Shouldn't have
don't even
been.
get me started about 31 of Triple H going over him. That's
Yeah, it should
ridiculous.
never have been NWO versus DX.
Which made no sense because he never got along
No.
with the NWO or the Black and White, I should say.
Right. It should have been Wolfpack if it was anything, and he should have came out in the red and black. But
Yeah,
which the jacket had the red and black on it,
it
didn't it?
did. It did.
Okay.
Yeah,
Man, this is tough. Both had phenomenal careers.
absolutely.
Um, Taker's was longer because Sting had so many breaks. They were the same version for each company. Like when you thought WWF, yes, I said that.
Mhm.
You thought Taker. When you thought
Yes.
WCW, you thought Sting.
Yep, they were loyal.
Yeah, so when Sting started popping up in TNA, people were shocked. And then when he came to WWE, they were even more shocked.
Mhm.
Between the two, man, this
Can't
is
go wrong with either
rough.
one. You can't go wrong with either one.
You can't. And honestly, I'm gonna go Sting.
I am too, Paul. I am too, and
I
I'm
mean,
and I'm
Taker
not just saying
was,
that as an AEW guy. I was more of a Stinger growing up than I was a Taker guy.
yeah. Taker was there to scare you.
And he did that
Sting
with
was
his
there to
Ministry of
defend you.
Darkness. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. 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 Sting was there to save you from all the bad stuff. So, yeah, I mean, Sting
Well,
was the more hero of the two.
and like I said, you can't go wrong with either one. I'll never be mad at anybody if they say Undertaker. But the thing about it, I liked, Sting. He was just his character was a unique guy who had a baseball bat as a weapon. But Undertaker had all these superpowers.
Yep.
I never. That was still always hard for me to buy into. Like this dead guy has all these superpowers.
Controlled by the urn
Yeah, yeah. But I
that may
get
or
it
may
for a
not contain
character.
him.
Yes. So if I had to push come to shove, gun to my head, I would pick Sting. But you
Mhm.
cannot go wrong with either one.
No, you can't.
So with all that said, let's pick the main event: Sting and Darby versus the EVPs, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, the Young Bucks. Tag team titles on the line, tornado tag match.
So it's a tornado tag match,
Mm-hmm.
which in all technicality means anything goes.
Mm-hmm.
I went with the Bucks for 10. I think Sting will take the pin. And I think Flair gets involved to cost Sting. That is
Even
my
though we
pick
just saw
tonight.
Flair, because
Yes.
it looked like he was going to side with the Bucks, even though he went against the
Yep.
Bucks.
I think it was all just a big setup. I mean, we're in Greensboro.
Yep,
How many times have those two gone one-on-one?
a lot.
I mean, when we started this pay-per-view, they were wrestling against each other behind you on your TV there.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's all going to come to fruition tonight. And
Very well could.
we'll see, like, Flair's going to side with Sting the whole time. And then it'll be close to Sting picking up the victory, and he'll slide in and hit a low blow on Sting.
In the heat the Bucks would have on them starting next week would be nuclear.
Yeah.
It would be, the heat the Bucks would have on them next week if all that happens would be just nuclear. They would be the biggest heels
Yeah.
in AEW.
Absolutely. And that's the push for them right now is and then it'll feed into your EVPs, so you booked yourself to win that match.
Mm-hmm.
That'll get them all the heat they need. Sting gets a good send-off, the Bucks will celebrate that they won the tag titles, and then they'll get out of the ring and everybody will go crazy for Sting. Sting will stand up, he'll take his final bow. I don't think we see him leave his boots in the ring tonight. But because he's announced it's his last match. And I know that's symbolic with wrestling as you put your boots in the ring when you're done. We saw Triple H do it. Taker did it, but Taker came back after doing it.
Cody tried. Malachi kicked his head off.
Yeah. Yeah. Cody tried. He was, I'm done. Boom. Nope. No, you're not. I'm here. But I think Sting will show up Wednesday just as a thank you for everything. He'll come out with his boots. He'll put him in the ring when he's done with his promo and then ride off into the sunset, so to speak.
I think our buddy Shep was right there with you with everything you said because he took the Bucks for 11.
Okay.
Well, it could come down to the main event tonight because I am going with Sting and Darby for 4.
Ooh.
And
all right.
I'm so conflicted because I can see it going either way because the Bucks, Sting being the old school guy, he might want to go out, giving somebody else the rub, going out on his back, looking up at the lights, something he's never done in AEW.
Yep.
And I know he's been involved creatively every step of the way of his final, last few months. But Tony Khan likes happy endings and happy stories.
That he does.
I realize what I said there. Don't worry. And I think Sting and Darby win. So Sting retires as tag team champion. And then the EVPs get mad next week. And they somehow make the titles vacant or something. Sets up for a tag team tournament that concludes at Double or Nothing for new champions. Because I don't see Darby getting a new partner going forward and defending the titles. I don't see him defending the titles by himself. So I think they kind of retire. We've seen this before. Trish Stratus retired as the women's champion in the WWE. So this isn't anything new. It's happened before. I'm taking a chance here, going with the fun ending to the pay-per-view with Sting retiring with gold around his waist.
And I would not be upset about that at all. That would set up, he goes out on top Wednesday night. The Bucks come out and say, look, this is a bunch of BS. We're not having this. The man's not here. Darby doesn't have another partner. The titles are vacant. We're going to hold a tournament to declare the new champions, and we're in it.
Yep. And we get a bye.
Yeah.
We're EVPs. We can do whatever we want.
Yep. Now, if they do that, though, here's the question. Do you issue new tag titles?
Great question. I say yes.
Way, that way that's the design that went out with Sting.
Yep. You just like the TNT title that went out with Brody.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I think so. That's a great question. I hadn't thought about that, but I think that'd be perfect timing to introduce some new ones. New look.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We did that with the women's. We did that with the TNT.
And supposedly, I don't know if it's next week or the following week, we're going to get a new set for Dynamite, maybe even yet kind of a new logo yet again. So they got to rebrand it a little bit.
Yeah, I saw that.
So
I saw that new Dynamite look. People were not digging it.
No, but I want the tunnels back.
I do too.
You can keep Collision without the tunnels. I think Collision's presentation looks slick, but bring the tunnels back.
Yep.
So, all right, a little real quick recap for everybody's picks. Paul has Chris Statlander and Will Nightingale for 7 points. Bang Bang Scissor Gang for 8, Warlow for 1, BCC for 2, Roderick Strong for 6, Brian Danielson for 5, Will Ospreay for 11, Christian Cage for 9, Deanna Peraza for 4, Samoa Joe for 3, and the Young Bucks for 10. Shep has, now I gotta go, he lists them in a different order here, so he has Julia Hart and Sky Blue for 6, Bang Bang Scissor Gang for 9, Warlow for 7, FTR for 1, Roderick Strong for 2, Eddie Kingston for 4, Will Ospreay for 10, Christian Cage for 8, Tony Storm for 5, Samoa Joe for 3, and the Young Bucks for 11. And I have Willow and Chris Statlander for 1, Bang Bang Scissor Gang for 5, FTR or Wardlow for 7, FTR for 3, Roderick Strong for 9, Eddie Kingston for 6, Will Ospreay for 11, Christian Cage for 2, Tony Storm for 5, yes, Samoa Joe for 10, and Sting and Darby Allin for 4. Should be fun, my friend. Looking forward to it. It's going to be a hell of a show.
Regardless of who the KOP predictions champion is at the end of the night, this is going to be a hell of a pay-per-view.
Yep. And I know we've talked about this on past podcasts before, how AEW always delivers on pay-per-views. Their cards are always good. But if you go back, this is the 5th Revolution. I can make a strong argument that Revolution is top to bottom their best pay-per-view every single year. Don't know why that is, but it seems to come off that way.
Yeah. And in the existence of the KOP Predictions Championship, how many Revolutions have I won this at? Every single one?
Every single one. It has been your pay-per-view. I went into it as champion last year, and you went perfect card on me.
I don't think I'm doing perfect card this year.
I don't think any of us are doing perfect card this year, but
man, this was what I like. Because this is a pay-per-view, you look at the card and go, every single one of these matches could go either way or any way, and it's going to be a good outcome.
Yep.
Regardless.
Absolutely.
So,
it's going to be fun top to bottom, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Looking
forward to chopping it up with you guys about next Sunday.
And don't forget, for you and Shep, you more than Shep, tune into 0 Hour, because then I don't ever have any problems with Bleacher Report. I've had problems once with Bleacher Report if I tuned in during 0 Hour. One time I forgot to tune into Bleacher Report for 0 Hour and tuned it into YouTube. And then when I switched over, remembering it, I ran into that issue you guys always run into. So tune in early and you'll get through the pay-per-view with no issues.
Well said. 7 o'clock, 0 Hour starts. Pay-per-view starts at 8, main card.
Yes. So tune in at like 6:55. That's what I
There you go. There you go. Well, Paul, why don't you, unless you have anything else, why don't you wrap us up for this week?
My final thoughts, I've already said numerous times, this is going to be a hell of a pay-per-view from top to bottom. Doesn't matter who wins what match, you're going to enjoy this thing from start to finish. So tune in, enjoy it, enjoy wrestling, because that's what you're going to see tonight. It's professional wrestling.
There's going to be a little bit for everybody tonight.
Yes, there is. You'll have your high flyers, your strong hitters, your mat guys. You're going to have old school even with Sting. So tune in.
And Sting, I think we're going to get a different side of Sting than maybe we've ever seen in AEW tonight. So
maybe we get a mix of Joker and Wolfpack.
Yeah, it's good. I hope Darby comes out with a Surfer Sting look tonight. He's got the blonde hair. I would love to see him paint his face for one night as Surfer Sting.
That'd be cool. Just that'd be cool.
Yep. Oh, and
all right.
One more thing. I should have mentioned this earlier. Thoughts on Sting coming down from the rafters one last time Wednesday night?
Oh, I popped for that. I popped and I got a little choked up even.
Yeah, man.
It's been almost 30 years since he did that last. He was doing it before Owen Hart. Yes. Owen Hart was kind of the answer to WCW allowing Sting to do that. He fell. Sting stopped doing it. I think Sting spent a lot of time now that Owen's family is involved with AEW. I think Sting spent a lot of time talking to them, saying, I want to do this. Are you okay with it? I know what
It
happened
was
with Owen. I don't
reported.
want to disrespect him.
It was reported Tony Khan got Martha Stewart. Wow. Martha Hart's. My gosh, that was bad. Martha Hart's blessing for Sting to do that the other night. So
I kind of hope he does it again tonight.
I don't want him to. Wednesday was perfect. Don't
Well,
do
I
it
mean,
again.
yeah, Wednesday was perfect because you could still see he had the harness on, so he'd have to take the harness off. But you had that full Crow Sting look, the full black jacket, the no baseball bat visible, but there it is. It was perfect. I loved it. If they do it tonight, I'd be okay with it. If they don't, I'll be okay with it.
Yep. Well said. Well said. That's my final thought. Now I'm done.
Okay. And with that, be sure to check out kickingOutShop.com. It's your place to go for all sorts of cool KOP merchandise. You can support a great podcast and look great doing so. Be sure to follow the Kicking Out Podcast on all social media at Kicking Out Pod. Be sure to listen to the Kicking Out Podcast wherever it is you listen to your podcasts. And if that happens to be Apple Podcasts, leave us that 5-star review because we are 5-star KOP. Be sure to follow your KOP Predictions champion, Tanner Lee, at Tanner Lee92. Follow our missing co-host, Austin Shepard, at The Shep27. Be sure to follow myself, at Paul Zartman 921. And with that, for Tanner Lee, I'm Paul Zartman. Join us again next week as we kick out yet another podcast.